So I see sustainability more as a strategy, and thanks to a movement which has come in corporates through the work which is happening in sustainability, that this has become very evident, and investors are also driving it personally. So that's when world ensures that that idea or concept is recognized. It doesn't go, in vain, and that in the process of recognition, uh, you are given separately an ecosystem to work upon those ideas and those concepts.
So welcome everybody, and to start with the quote, जहाँ सोच हरी हो, नजरिया वैश्विक हो और नीयत सबको साथ ले चलने की हो, वहीं से असली बदलाव की शुरुआत होती है. Namaste and welcome to the Green Trailblazer podcast, our platform celebrating the architects of greener, fairer and more resilient world. Today, I'm honored to introduce a woman who has not just been a witness to India's sustainability movement, but a pioneer shaping its path. Dr. Aditi Missal is the Group ESG lead at Welspun Enterprises, a national award-winning sustainability champion and a global voice representing India at prestigious forums like UNEA and UNCSW. Her journey into ESG was not just a career shift, it was a calling. In her own words, my moment of awakening came when I saw textile waste being dumped near a rural school. That day, I realized that sustainability can't be a checklist. It has to be a culture, and that culture begins at the top. Since then, Dr. Aditi has spread her transformational initiatives from Women of Welspun, which champions women leadership in manufacturing, to Manthan, a unique behavioral change program focused on mindful consumption and circular thinking. And I'm thrilled to be joined today by my co-host Tripti Singhal Sumhani, a chartered accountant, an angel investor, and founder of Womenovator, a force that is building diverse inclusion ecosystems through women-led supply chain and powerful collaboration. So without further delay, let's welcome the trailblazer herself, Dr. Aditi Missal, to the Green Trailblazer podcast. Dr. Aditi, it's a true privilege to have you with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Akansha, and thank you, Tripti. In fact, it's a pleasure to be part of, the podcast series at Women Innovator. I've been following the great work which is happening, and hats off to Tripti and Akansha and the team, for driving such amazing work with women and for women.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Aditi. It's our pleasure, and I'm very happy, and I hope all our audience would definitely enjoy listening to this podcast with Dr. Aditi, because she has been a core expert and has been working, has given her heart and soul to the ecosystem, I would say, because when you're working as an ESG expert, you're working on these small but impactful initiatives. I would definitely first, before we start, congratulate you for the effort you've put in. With this, we'll start
Thank you,
today's
Tripti.
round of introductions, and of course would like to know more about you, Dr. Aditi. You have worn so many hats: an ESG strategist, an innovator, an academic, and a change maker. Quite diverse but impressive. But if we met you outside the boardroom, say at a quiet cafe or during a campus, talk, how would you introduce yourself, Dr. Aditi? Who is Dr. Aditi beyond the impressive credentials?
I think Aditi is a soul who's on the journey to complete probably the responsibility of being born as a human, and as part of Mother Nature, giving back with gratitude whatever best we can. So that's what Aditi is, and taking along the family and the community. So that's what defines it.
I think Dr. Aditi, somehow I'm in love with the word community, and I don't know, people are understanding the importance of community, whether in a social initiatives or when I train people or when they talk about business. Everything get correlated with community. So I loved when you said the word community. Uh, and when you talk about ESG as a culture transformation, not just as a compliance metric, it makes a lot of difference. But has that
Absolutely.
perspective always been part of your journey, Dr. Aditi, or was there a defining movement that shaped it? That's what would love to hear from you.
Yeah. So I came into the spiritual journey early on when I was very young. It was way back in 1999. However, there was a moment that I wanted to do my doctorate, and I didn't want to just increase the burden of knowledge unless that knowledge really brought in good in this particular world. Otherwise, it is just the weight that you carry on your head, is what I've heard from a lot of my mentors. So when I was looking for what could be the topic which really adds value to this particular journey, I came across, Green, a marketing book. And that book actually shaped me completely. That was Eureka moment for me. It was a wow moment that, yes, that's where my journey is taking me to. And that was a defining moment. I still vividly remember the library and the book, the green cover. And, so then I decided that I would pursue my PhD in this particular topic. Way back in 2010, hardly anyone heard of this particular topic as green. And in fact, the journey was that to my reviewers and the PhD committee evaluators also, I had to train them aware and make them aware what green is, what this field is. And then actually the sanction came that I would do the doctorate. Yeah.
So wonderful. I think I can correlate this so much. I know you've done PhD, I've not, but somehow if you see on the top of the screen, you'll see a word Jeevriksha, Jeevan or Vriksh. College and doing naming the college in colleges, naming those plants by the kids' name so that they know every day they have to come. This is my tree, and they have to take care of them. So such small initiatives I started while working with PwC and all. But I think over the period we started working for women, waste management and all. But because you were talking about green, I think I couldn't stop myself from sharing. But with this, a very cute quote I saw on one of your initiative. Seriously, we don't like climate change. I loved it when I read it. But instead of responding with gloom and doom, smaller footprint company, which you're part as advisory board, brings this refreshing, upbeat, and almost cheeky approach to solving a serious problem. I love, Dr. Aditi, that you have made sustainability feel light, joyful, and of course, part of everyday's living without guilt. So, what inspired this tone and positioning, Dr. Aditi? And was there a specific moment where you thought we need to stop preaching and start playing around? And how did you think this shift in narrative actually drives deeper behavior change, Dr. Aditi?
Yeah. So, in fact, Tripti, these are the shared thoughts with one of my friend, Priti Mundra, at Smaller Footprints, and I've been part of the journey somewhere for Smaller Footprint. It many times may be very, very gloomy kind of a thing to understand that day by day the climate change is getting worse, air pollution is getting worse, water scarcity is more, and it could bring in a more depressing kind of a situation for an individual who is trying to, swim upstream, I would say. However, when we understand that, the change doesn't happen overnight, it is the small steps taken every time. That is what actually leads to change. And in fact, at Smaller Footprint, they're doing amazing work when it comes to shaping lifestyle more aligned to sustainability, one decision at a time. So, be it what you choose to wear, what you choose to eat, yeah, how you choose to commute, and so on and so forth. So, in fact, my own, PhD is in eco-conscious attitude and behaviors. And in fact, early on, back then, I realized that there was a tussle inside every person, while going for whether to go for a green product or to choose your convenience or to choose economy and so on and so forth. It's just that we have to make them understand that it is not always either or. There could be and. So it's not that you choose green product or convenience. It should be, a greener choice and convenience, greener choice and economy, greener choice and better world.
I think that makes sense because I think recently I don't remember I think I remember the book Atomic Habits. It says that you have to bring changes which are unnoticeable so that you don't even realize that it happened, because when the change will get reflective, you will not realize it. And this happened with Womanovator also, Dr. Aditi. I would love to share this episode.
The magic, sorry Tripti, if I'm, stopping you for a second here. Why? Because see, this is what universe magic is. It's the same book that I just completed reading.
Wow.
So, and it's the same book that you're quoting here.
Right.
Yeah,
It is magic. So it happened that we launched after initiating Womanovator 100 Faces from India and Asia. I promised in the event that I want all of the people who I'm giving award today, if all 100 would do 100 each, that would be 1,000. I thought it would be so simple, right? I'm a community person. 10 into 10 is 100. You don't have to bring 10 people. You have to bring 10. 10 have to bring 10. Then the community grows. So I promised openly in 2018 that we will do 1,000 and 100, each of you 100 will, assuming all of them will work on it. But you know how it works. And then I started working on bringing 100 leaders and 100 committees and 100 events simultaneously. And every individual was only working for 100. So they felt it's 100 and 4 jury members and 4 important people. When we consolidated and did 1,000, they said, Tripti, our photo is not visible. Where are we? I said, see, that is community power, because you are thinking you are 100 and the most important. Here we are talking about 100 cities, 100 even, 1,000 beneficiaries, 1,000 recognitions. Of course, we don't have to see ourselves in that, but you are there. That is for sure. You are there. So with this, I could correlate with what you just said, drop by drop. Sometimes we just have to do small, but if we bring community to work upon it, I think it will have a ripple effect. And Womanovator is a perfect example as well, Dr. Aditi, which has seen ripple effect. Yeah, with this, I would like to move on another, the organization, the Wellspun, is a great example of an Indian companies that actively embedding ESG principle into core businesses, whether it is green textile, responsible sourcing, which is not easy, or circulating in manufacturing. What I find especially interesting is how they have turned sustainability into a business driver, then a compliance. I would like to, from your vantage point, as someone who deeply understands both policy and grassroots, how do you view the role of such larger players in shaping India's sustainability story? into a business driver than just compliances, Dr. Aditi?
So, Tripti, you remember you mentioned that you wear so many hats, and in fact, probably I was always in a place where sustainability was taking shape and it became driver. So, if you see from academics to non-profits to corporate, and that is where actually now in corporates the action is happening when it comes to sustainability. And it's not just the compliance, definitely, because for all of us now, sustainability and ESG is sitting as goals in our KRAs. And we have to ensure each of the departments are aligning themselves when it comes to the goals that they are setting, again aligned to the sustainability. And thanks to the senior leadership, our honorable chairman, Balkrishna Goenka sir, Dipali Goenka ma'am, I think they are the people who completely imbibed sustainability into themselves, driving this huge conglomerate, however, keeping the the roots intact into the culture and aligned towards sustainability. That is where the change started when it comes to Welspun. Particularly, I'll also talk about Welspun Enterprises, where I lead ESG and sustainability. Going ahead, actually, sustainability is equal to strategy in business, because you get advantage in terms of how you are avoiding risks. Yeah, so through risk mitigation and better compliances, the opportunity cost is avoided. So again, a profit. You actually are practicing resource efficiency. That's again a profit. You shift more towards the sustainable energy, sustainable electricity, be it electricity, fuel, any of these types, plus sustainable material. And that innovation eventually would lead to lessening the cost in future. So that is again going to add to your profit. So I see sustainability more as a strategy, and thanks to a movement which has come in corporates through the work which is happening in sustainability, that this has become very evident, and investors are also driving it personally. So, like for example, I'll take one case study of Welspun Enterprises, where we reduced almost 24 metric ton of cement, 24,000 metric ton of cement in 2024-25. We added super plasticizers. We used fly ash, which is waste of thermal power plant. And this actually has led to reduction of almost 36,000 tons of carbon emissions. Plus, we are having solar power, plus, so many of the other initiatives that we do are reducing the carbon footprint. So it's money, as well as it is also good for the environment. And I term this as true north strategy.
I think I would like to bring this whole discussion, intensive discussion, to a little lighter note and ask you something out of syllabus of ESG. If you had 1 week off, Dr. Aditi, no mail, no email, I don't know how will you think about that scenario also, because I know that would not be possible for you. Where would you go and why, Dr. Aditi?
I do follow a lot of these things, especially in my vacations time. I don't, entertain much mobiles and emails and all of that. And, I take a lot of pleasure in that self journey. So, place would be anywhere which is closer to nature. Sometimes it could be Vrindavan, it could be Mayapur, or it could be, any of the other hilly places, because I like,
Yes.
place, closer to Mother Nature anywhere. Yeah.
Dr. Aditi, before I hand over this mic to Akansha, our co-host, I would like to ask you something. Um, your academic journey has been incredibly inspiring. I mean, it's marvelous. You published extensively the patented smart toilet tracking system. I would want you to speak about it. And even presented your work at prestigious universities like NUS and Harvard Martin Center. I mean, I think I don't want to speak more about it. I want to hear from you how and what it takes and what was this about and how did you think about it. We would love to hear, and our audience would love to hear about it, Dr. Ati.
Yeah. So, Tripti, you have gone to another very important core of mine, where I strongly believe that for good work, good influence is needed. And in that process of bringing that good influence for good work, I realized that there are a lot of institutions which bring that influence. And that brought me to Harvard, that brought me to NUS Singapore, presenting the little work that I've done in sustainability. They all appreciate it because it was action led. It didn't matter whether it was small or it was big. So many times, what happens is we keep judging as women as to are we really doing work which is worth taking to those all places? We keep doubting. But I think what is needed is that conviction in heart that it is something which is good for the world and that it would be appreciated by people who are sitting in those good places. So with that conviction, everyone should be able to take that opportunity. I had an opportunity to also apply for Fulbright fellowships and Harvard postdoc invitation letter as well as fellowship invitation letter. Two times. One was in 2015 and another was in 2022. But then both the times I could not get through the Fulbright, interview stage. You know, I don't know how the life would have been the other side of the world, but then definitely I've tried my best. So, for women, that another thing that we have to aim big is another message that I would like to give that we should not settle down for less, and keep persevering. And you never know, Tripti, I would give you that particular good news sometime in life.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm always looking forward for news which involves improvement when it comes to women, and I'll keep looking forward and keep pinging you for when I'm getting to know that news. With this, Dr. Aditi, I will just ask something which is my favorite subject, of course, women. And I recently also came across a program which you guys did, which is Women of Wellspun. And also, I think you are almost 28% of your workforce is being reported comprises women, a very strong step forward, specifically with areas which you have chosen, and so you also did a program with NSTC, which is clearly shows your focus on empowering women, and from real world to real empowerment, which you are trying to achieve. I think. Also, beyond hiring, somehow I feel, Dr. Aditi, it is a good idea to think about supply diversity. Whenever we talk about women empowerment, we'll just get stuck to getting hiring women. Why do you think corporate is and the ESG not thinking about supply diversity? Women Innovators specifically, I just shared with you. We run this program, VNest, where we are educating corporates that you can, without spending money, empower women by buying from women, and your supply diversity, you achieve supply diversity, your ESG reporting is achieved.
Absolutely.
It's like such an amazing thing you can achieve. And today in PSU's 2018, I suggested the policy, which was 3% procurement policy. And today we have 4,536 crore being procured from women-owned business. But I think it's step, Dr. Aditi, I can make a hell lot of difference. I know I'm a very passionate person on this aspect, but would love to hear your views and what do you feel, your point of view as a sustainable leader? What does it take for corporates to go beyond just workforce, Dr. Aditi?
Yeah. Tripti, first of all, hats off to you and the team. Again, another very important paradigm shift that you have brought with this particular thought. And in fact, um, I would try and be the spokesperson wherever possible for this particular idea, and credit uh, definitely going to Tripti and the team. Um, we have been monitoring, the supply chain diversity in terms of MSME and the big conglomerate. But definitely, this is a very important perspective that you brought in, because see, when it comes to ESG and sustainability, it's not your organization in itself, yeah, which can achieve sustainability. It has to build as an ecosystem, yeah, and the learning curves have to make it easier for the organizations to carry on this alignment that they have taken up towards sustainability. And in fact, in that, your value chain plays a very important role. And I would not say just the suppliers, but also your, so like in our case, we are into infrastructure sector. Yeah. So we work alongside a lot of contractors. And these are very local, small time contractors for a particular job coming in for a particular big project that you are taking up. So it's not just suppliers, I would say, but it is also the contractors, or in that, so the right word to be used could be the value chain rather than just the supply chain. And I would definitely be, I would always flag it up, yeah, and take it along to the boardroom discussions, wherever I am. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Aditi. Thank you so much. I think with this, I would just push not just to be a spokesperson for us, but also come pledge with us that we will start buying from women. I think, and we would like to add you in our name list for one of the corporates we procuring. With this, I will not stop and pass the mic to Akansha to take things and the questions round and make this more interesting.
Indeed, a pleasure, Tripti. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you for being so thoughtful.
Thank you, Tripti. I think you have covered most of the questions which we wanted to ask from Dr. Aditi. You're a researcher, you're an innovator, you're an educator, and you're also a change maker. But off the record, what grounds you as Aditi, like as a person? I want to know, because like I am following you and everything, so I want to understand what is Aditi within, like what she thinks, how she thinks, why she thinks that way.
Yeah. So, when it comes to how I ground myself, the first thing that I do in the morning is say a prayer which connects me to Mother Nature. Samudra Vasane Devi Parvatastana Mandali Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam Padasparsham Shamasmuni. So even before stepping down from the bed, we ask forgiveness for putting our feet on Mother Nature. She is our mother. So that's probably the most important start every day, to start with that grounding exercise. But definitely any person who is working in sustainability cannot go proud, because the challenges are so huge. The it's a long way to go. So even if we achieve small things here and there, I'm sure there is a lot to be done. So automatically it keeps you grounded, because you are doing it for Mother Nature. It's her blessing probably that keeps us grounded.
It's really resonates what you said, what keeps you grounded and everything related to it. And now I'm studying nowadays, I'm basically exploring the Ayurveda section also. And I'm saying that, okay, this the Western medicine is something which is taking inspiration from our Ayurvedic medicines, and we can explore our, Indian Ayurvedic and implement it into our sustainability practices.
True, true. So, in fact, there is, when you were mentioning about Green Olympiad, I just remembered that, I had an opportunity to work closely with UNIP and CEE and WWF. So there is this program of plastic tide turner challenge, and we got almost 45,000 plus students to participate in this particular program. And till today, I always feel that that's one of the biggest success that I've seen, because these are the 45,000 seeds that we have planted, as Tripti was mentioning the time, that these will be the 45,000 thought leaders. Yeah, the way you shared your journey. So those would be those 45,000 thought leaders who would take sustainability to a next level. Yeah.
That's right,
What
and
do
I guess like the education which I got during my schooling was something which actually shaped me. It transformed me and made me think about, rather than being an engineer or CA, or someday I want to be an environmentalist. Yeah,
Yeah.
and Dr. Aditi, the Wellspun initiative like V Siksha and V Netra healthcare programs, which directly impacts the community, especially women and students in rural area. From your experience, how can large corporates balance strategic business goals with on-ground social impact to ensure long-term inclusive development?
Yeah. In fact, one who is having a vision and could see the broader world would never see disconnect between the corporate social responsibility and the business goals, because um, the business can't grow without the community growing and improving. So it's a give and take which is there between the community and the business. And in fact, with that as a principle, and these all programs are so close to the heart of the uh, Dipali Goenka ma'am and the whole Goenka family. And she personally, in fact, drives all of these programs, be it Vel Netrutva and Vel Shiksha and all of that. So in Vel Netrutva, particularly, again, a lot of work happens in the space where women are empowered towards setting up their own small businesses and these women are coming from the rural background, from small villages, making them self dependent and being able to pursue their financial journey, that matter. So when Viprutva has been very powerful as a program when it comes to Welspun's CSR initiatives. There's one more program which is very, very powerful, and I'm not sure if you have heard of it. It's the Well Super Sports Women program, and um, all of the women athletes, parathletes are being supported through this particular program, and you will find such inspiring stories coming out of this particular program. So that is also another program which is very close to my heart. It is also very close to the heart of my seniors and mentors at Wellspun Enterprises. So, I just wanted to share about that with you.
That's very, very nice initiative like Wellspun Super Sports Women. And I think in India, sport is not only cricket, and supporting and supporting women, especially in terms of sports, it's great. And I hope this programs run super, super nicely and effectively. Yeah, so Dr. Aditi, you've shared such a rich insight today. But before we close, let's lighten things up a bit. It's time for our signature segment, which is rapid fire round. Quick question,
Sure.
interesting answers, no overthinking, just go with the flow.
Sure.
So, um, first question. One ESG myth you did like to bust.
It's only compliance.
That's true. And one sustainability book podcast you did recommend to everybody to read.
It's not podcast, but book, yes. Silent Spring.
Salisbury. Yes, that's my favorite. That's I think I read it during my masters, and it actually inspired me a lot. And I made my younger brother, to read it also.
Wow.
Yeah. And if you could rewrite one ESG policy in India, what would that be? Okay, so you have been an inspiration to so many women. So, one woman which inspired you right now, who's your inspiration?
My mother. And it is not a stereotypical answer. Why I would say that I lost my father very early on. I was just in 8th grade, and she was homemaker within the BSc gold medalist, but chose to stay back home so that children could learn better, grow
Yeah.
better as individuals. And then she came out like Jhansi Ki Rani, and fought for all of us so that we didn't grow at mercy of anyone, and we keep continuing the journey towards a better free individual, better educated individual. So, hats off to them.
That's wonderful. I guess
And
our
also to my mother-in-law. Sorry,
she was
can
also
I add?
supportive. Yeah, definitely.
Um, you'll not believe during my PhD, when I was actually drafting the thesis, my mother-in-law would feed me because I would write it for 17, 18 hours at a stretch. I didn't want to lose the link. So, that's the beauty of Indian culture, where the true empowerment happens at home first.
Right. That's absolutely right. And I guess both of them, my mother and my mother-in-law, both of them are actually my inspiration too. My
Wow.
mother actually shaped me what I am. So okay, that's since it's a rapid fire question. My next question is carbon market, real opportunity or corporate greenwash?
Time will tell.
Very diplomatic.
No, but this is reality. This is reality. There are a lot of good efforts happening around it. That like for example, in one of the projects we have a demethanation plant being set up in the wastewater treatment facility that I mentioned, where 350 metric ton of sludge will be treated. And imagine how much methane is being captured.
Right.
So in such projects, that carbon credit is a blessing. But hope that organizations realize that carbon offsetting is not a long-term solution. It's just a temporary phase of taking responsibility.
That's true.
Yeah? But eventually it should lead to carbon reduction rather than offsetting.
That's rightly said. So your go-to mantra before walking into a tough boardroom. What is your go-to mantra?
What I'm doing is right.
Boss is always right.
The purpose for which I'm doing is right.
That's right. So I guess that my next question is like a quote you live by. So
it's not exactly the quote, but it's a shloka. Vivere Swarupoy Krishnera Nityadas. So our nature is of the spiritual nature is of service, being useful for the larger purpose. For me, it is Lord Krishna, of course. So that's the mantra which actually drives me always, that where I can be better useful for not only him but all his children. Yeah.
nice. That's such a beautiful quote. And finally, what makes you a green trailblazer?
family support. Without them, I wouldn't have been here at all. So credit goes to a lot of sacrifices and lot of support that has come from family, which has made it possible. Yeah.
That's truly inspiring, and I guess because of the we are doing everything like you said, we are doing it for the children, we're doing it for the family, and that is why we're able to think about the future and work towards it at the present. Most of them have actually shared their experience that family support helped them a lot. Whatever they are, like whatever future they're having currently, is something which is by the support of their family. Like the husband has helped her, and or the kids has helped her or understood her, and was proud of it. So that is why they were able to change the country.
So true, so true. In fact, early on, if I can be reminded, um, before getting married, I was very different as a person. I think a lot of self confidence and a lot of purposefulness came in when I got married. So hats off to Vivek for making Aditi uh, who
What
she
she's
is.
today.
Yeah,
So I think I'll schedule another podcast with him also.
sure. You should definitely, because I
We will.
strongly feel not only women, such men, who are actually thought leaders, are actually making women, or they are actually driving women empowerment.
That's true. That's true. That's true. And also in Green Trailblazer, we would be calling all those important and top leaders, be it women, be it men, to talk about sustainability. Even we are actually researching on some other person also, like if they can also come and talk about sustainability, why only women and men. But yeah, let's see how it goes. And it was nice talking to you, like it was such a
Yeah.
deep enriching conversation, and I love talk like I am a environmentalist. I love talking about women empowerment, about waste, and about water management. Like that's very nice talking to you, ma'am.
In fact, I felt that it is reciprocal. I felt equally energized and inspired and fulfilled after the discussion. Thank you so much. You made my day. I would
You.
say year.
Thank you so much, ma'am.